Hi, my name is Christina Payne. I'm the director of West Virginia Hands and Voices. This small video will provide for you a brief overview of some of the communication options available to use with your child who is deaf or hard of hearing. In the video, we have listening and spoken language, which will be discussed by Dr. Jody Cottrell, the program director of the Luke Lee Listening, Learning, and Language Lab. We also will discuss American Sign Language. That will be discussed by Leanne Brewer, the program director of the ASL program at Mount West Community and Technical College. And then lastly, Mary Ann Clendenin, a regional outreach specialist with the West Virginia School for the Deaf Outreach Program, will be discussing a variety of different modes and approaches that can be used with your child as well.
Listening and spoken language is an approach emphasizing spoken language development through listening. When parents choose for their deaf or hard of hearing child to learn to listen and speak, they must be fit with hearing technology such as hearing aids or cochlear implants as soon as possible. The technology must allow the child to have optimal access to sound so that they may develop spoken language through listening by following the stages and sequence of typical development. Parents are expected to be the primary facilitator of their child's listening and spoken language development by participation in auditory verbal therapy with a listening and spoken language specialist. The listening and spoken language specialist will coach parents to help their children develop skills necessary to be successful in mainstream school and integrated into the hearing community. A listening and spoken language specialist is either a certified auditory verbal therapist or certified auditory verbal educator. They can be an audiologist, a speech language pathologist, or a deaf educator who has been trained to specialize in teaching deaf children to listen and speak.
ASL is a language of the deaf. It's American Sign Language. It's important language. So many children can become skilled in sign language before they even speak. Hearing babies, as well as deaf babies, both can learn sign language early in their lives. It makes a solid and good foundation for language learning for both children. ASL itself is a visual language. English, however, is more of a spoken language. ASL requires body language, facial expressions. English, on the other hand, isn't necessarily need the body language and facial expressions. Children really are captivated and are fascinated by ASL because of the body language, and it becomes exciting for them. For hearing parents who give birth to deaf babies, they can learn to sign basic words with their children. For example, mama, papa, milk, food. Different signs will help the children develop language and possibly later even help with the development of spoken language. So, it will benefit all of developmental language.
American Sign Language, ASL, is one of the first options that we discuss. We also discuss different versions of that, such as Signed Exact English, which is often referred to as SEE. And that's signing that strives to be kind of an exact representation of English. We also talk about PSE, which is Pigeon Signed English, and that's really just a mix of ASL and SEE together. Total communication, which is incorporating all means of communication, and that's formal sign language and natural gestures and finger spelling and body language and lip reading and speech. That's everything together. Not to be confused with simultaneous communication, often called SIMCOM. And SIMCOM is signing and some of the other options that are sometimes a little bit harder to use and not used as much, like the Rochester method, which is finger spelling and combined with speech, and it's all finger spelling and combined with speech. So it's kind of tedious and it's not used much anymore. We also talk with our families about cued speech. And cued speech is a method where they use hand cues, and they use placements on or near the mouth for speech reading purposes. An example of that would be like, this is the hand cue for m, t, f, and e is placement here, so the word meat would be m, eat. A lot of questions regarding what are some other tools that they can use and what's the difference between cued speech and visual phonics. And so there are two tools that are not communication options that a lot of people ask about. Visual phonics is one of them, where they use the 46 phonemes, and they also use hand shapes similar to cues. And those are used often. And then, of course, manipulative visual language, which is a system where they're teaching literacy and reading to students who have hearing loss, and it's a visual system. When families are choosing their method of communication to use with their child with hearing loss, many times the child's hearing loss is different than other children's hearing loss, and not all child's hearing loss are the same, and not all families' needs are the same. So we like to give them unbiased information on each communication option so that they can make a choice that best fits their family and their needs.
As you can see, there are a number of different communications options available to you, your child, and family as you're learning to communicate together. The Hands and Voices motto is, what works for your child is what makes the choice right. One particular method does not work for every single child. So as you research, you can decide what works best for your child and your family. Of course, keep in mind what you decide to start with today, what method you're using now, that can change over the course of time. If you make a choice to try one particular method and realize it may not be the best fit, don't worry, you can always change and try something different. The important thing is early access to language for your child and communication and connection for your family. We hope that you found the information in this video and the accompanying brochure helpful and useful as you're researching options for your family. Feel free to reach out to the resources in the brochure and to us at West Virginia Hands and Voices if you need more information or if we can provide support to you and your family. Thank you.